Hi, my name is Haley Wood, and this is my Internet Use Violations Threats over the World Wide Web case study for EDL 850, Module 14. First is the problem identification analysis. In this case study, the things that I know is that Miss Tate is a second-year teacher in a very affluent area. She expects a lot out of her students, and the parents have made concerns to the principal about her being too difficult of a teacher, having too stringent of expectations, and making the class workload too hard and poor instruction. A unanimous email was sent to Miss Tate that had a link to a Facebook page, and on that Facebook page there were derogatory comments made towards Miss Tate. What do I need to know? I need to know who was involved in the creation of the Facebook page. Who made comments on it, just any student that was involved in this. I need to also know if any of this occurred during school hours, whether the students did it at school, commented, if it had any connection to school, as well as if threats or comments have been made before to Miss Tate or about other teachers or students from some other students as well. And then I also need to know if the threats were serious or if, as Dr. Smith suggested, if they were kind of a prank that the students were playing. The problem in this situation is that the rude and threatening comments were made to a teacher and it made her feel unsafe. The source of the comments on the social media, the creation of it, was currently unknown of who was involved in it. And another problem is that the parents and students don't think that Miss Tate is a very good teacher, and the student relationship that is currently there that the teacher has isn't the best, which is something Dr. Smith tried to work towards with Miss Tate to improve that. My suggested proposed plan of action. First, I would communicate with the technology department to see if they could start tracking any information to help us figure out who was involved in the comments that were made. I would also communicate with some of my teachers to see if they have any information about they've heard certain students make comments before about Miss Tate, or also just so they're aware so they can keep an eye and ear out for hearing students quietly talk about comments about what went on with this situation. I would also speak with students to gain more information, not just a specific group of students, just kind of talk to a large variety just to try and understand what information anyone has. I would also continue documentation, kind of like how Dr. Smith right away took a screenshot of the comments that were made, continue documenting which students I talked to, as well as what what the students said when I was speaking with them. I would then contact parents, administer consequences as needed, depending on how the situation played out, what I found from students. And then I would decide if legal action needs to be taken after determining whether the threat was intentional, how much harm was involved. And then I would discuss proper usage of the internet and consequences of making threats. I would have this conversation first with my teachers, and then I would want them to, they would be the main way to get it out to the students, just talking about appropriate digital citizenship and the importance of if there will be consequences if you make threats like this, even if you don't mean them intentionally, kind of just how their actions also to their classmates work the same way. The resolution: in order to promote the academic success and personal well-being of every student, I will only discipline or take action if there is evidence. If I know for sure whether students admitted it or there's been proof that students were involved in the Facebook page or commenting. I would also consult a large variety of students, and I would not only speak to those ones that Miss Tate mentioned when she first spoke with Dr. Smith. She thought she knew who the student was, but she really didn't have a lot of backing on why she felt that student was involved. I would also make sure the students are aware of the severity of the situation. Kind of like I spoke before in the last line, talk about the importance that these consequences will have threats. These decisions will have consequences if those threats are made. I would work with the teachers and the students to review and learn appropriate internet and social media usage. just work on them understanding digital citizenship skills, and kind of the bullying can be brought into this as well, and how it can be not directed towards the teacher, but also student to student, how these would also have consequences, hopefully preventing this situation or similar ones even towards students from occurring in the future. I would also try and have conversations with students or have the teachers with what they could do if they're upset with a situation. It sounds like some of the students weren't very happy with Miss Tate and her expectations, and so instead of creating these comments on social media, I would talk to them about what they could do if they're not agreeing with what a teacher is doing. I would also continue to work with Miss Tate to improve her relationship with students, and then hopefully moving forward also help improve regardless of the outcome of this current situation. My thoughts and feelings on the situation. I do not feel like there was harm intended from the students. I just think the students were upset with the teacher and the high expectations that she had for them. I feel that the principal handled the situation well. He made sure that it was taken care of right away, and Miss Tate knew. He kind of tried to reassure her of what was going on. I do feel like the environment of the classroom had a part in causing the issue. Maybe if Miss Tate would have followed the recommendations that Dr. Smith had made, the situation could have been avoided, or maybe on not as such a large of a scale. And I also feel that this is a huge teaching moment for the students. We could talk about cyberbullying, digital citizenship, and just the importance of all of those, as I have kind of already discussed. My values, safety of students and staff. Not only is a job of an administrator to protect the students, but also the staff, and just making sure that they feel they're safe at school and also at their home. I value communication. I think Ms. Tate contacting Dr. Smith right away was very important, and he communicated with her. I think just communication with the other teachers as well as the students is very important and should be valued in a school situation. And I also feel that the situation should not be dismissed. Yes, I said above, I don't feel like there was harm intended, but the situation still needs to be followed through and treated as if it may have been more serious, just to make sure and kind of respect Miss Tate and her safety also. Some of the unresolved issues I feel is that if the comments were intentional or not. This may never be resolved. A student may admit to it but say, oh, I was just kidding, or I didn't mean it. So that may never be figured out if it truly was intentional or not. Also, it may not be figured out who was all involved. Some students may admit to being involved in it, or there might be able to be proof from looking up on the technology, but you may never truly know who was all involved. And then also Miss Tate's student interactions and understanding of the situation. Hopefully from this situation she improves her relationship with them, but the understanding of it and why it all happened also may never be resolved. How did the education leader apply knowledge that promotes the success of every student by acting with integrity? Right away, Dr. Smith spoke with Miss Tate after parents had expressed their concerns, and he suggested techniques and strategies that she could do to improve her classroom management relationships before the situation even occurred. Dr. Smith understood the concern from Miss Tate, and he right away took action and tried to reassure her that it would be taken care of. The next day, they would speak with some of the students to try and understand the situation. And also, there was a plan formulated to take care of the situation right away. Like I said, Dr. Smith said, we're going to meet with these students tomorrow morning, and just took the documentation to make sure the plan, it was already working towards it instead of worrying about it when he got to school on Monday. Component 2, how did the education leader apply knowledge that promotes the success of every student by acting with fairness? Dr. Smith did not make accusations on the students. Even when Miss Tate suggested that she knew the student that did it, Dr. Smith didn't say, okay, well, I'll talk to that student tomorrow. He wanted to also talk to his friends, other students, to figure out the situation. Dr. Smith also did not blame Miss Tate for the situation. He did not say, well, it's because of your poor classroom management skills that this happened, or he just told her, I understand, and we're going to work towards it. Dr. Smith suggested ways to help relationship with students. Like I said at the beginning of the situation, He tried to say, here's some ideas, techniques that you could do. Miss Tate did not follow those recommendations. However, he did make the appropriate steps to try and improve it. And he also reassured Miss Tate that he kind of downplayed the situation just to make her feel more comfortable and not scared about the comments that were made. Component 3, how did the education leader apply knowledge that promotes the success of every student by acting in an ethical manner? Dr. Smith spoke with the teacher about strategies. He took the situation seriously and took action immediately by taking documentation and planning to speak with those students the next day. Dr. Smith was ethical because he did not only speak with the students that Miss Tate suggested, he planned to speak with a variety of students, and he also had documentation right away. And then as the situation continued, I would continue to document just to be able to back everything that occurred in this situation. Thanks for listening.